Hey there, welcome to our deep dive all about ancient Rome.
Yeah.
It's like we're hopping into a time machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going way back to explore this civilization that honestly still has a huge impact on us even today.
Definitely.
And get this, we're using some awesome sixth grade learning materials.
Cool.
Yeah, we've got maps, stories, even a super cool painting to help us discover ancient Rome.
Nice.
It's like we're learning about it all for the first time.
That's what's so fascinating about this deep dive. We're not just gonna rattle off names and dates,
Right.
We're gonna go deeper. Why did ancient Rome get so powerful? How did things like its geography, myths, even its neighbors play a role in its epic story?
Okay, so let's set the stage first.
Okay.
First up, Italy. We've got this map here showing ancient Italy. And, well, it kind of looks like, a boot.
You got it. Italy's a peninsula, so it's surrounded by water on three sides. It's like this giant boot sticking out into the Mediterranean Sea.
So Italy wasn't just any random spot on the map, right?
Yeah. No, not at all. It had this perfect mix of geographic features, mountains, plains, and coastlines, all kind of crammed together.
What was so special about that for a civilization like ancient Rome?
Well, imagine you're a Roman settler. You're looking for the perfect place to build a city, right? You'd want protection, good land for farming, and easy ways to trade. Italy had it all. The Alps in the north, they were like a giant wall protecting the Romans from invaders.
I see, like natural defenses.
Exactly. Then you've got those fertile plains, perfect for growing lots of food.
And don't forget those coastlines.
Right. Access to the Mediterranean Sea, that was like the superhighway of the ancient world.
So Italy was the total package. But hold on, didn't the Romans also have to deal with, some pretty intense natural disasters, volcanoes and earthquakes?
Oh, for sure. Italy's right on a major fault line. So
Yeah.
volcanic eruptions and earthquakes are just part of life. You've probably heard of Mount Vesuvius.
The one that buried Pompeii.
That's the one. These natural events, they really shaped the landscape.
And probably how the Romans saw the world, too.
Oh, absolutely. Makes you wonder how they explained these events back then. Speaking of explaining things, that kind of brings us to the founding of Rome itself.
Cue the dramatic music.
Right. The tale of Romulus and Remus. This story has captivated people for centuries.
Abandoned by the river Tiber, raised by a she-wolf. Talk about a wild childhood.
Totally. They eventually decided to build a city right on the spot where they were found, but then things went south. They couldn't agree on who'd rule.
They had a disagreement, and things escalated.
Let's just say it didn't end well. According to Livy, the Roman historian, Romulus killed Remus in a fit of rage.
Wow, not exactly a peaceful solution.
Not at all. And so, the city of Rome was born, named after its, pretty ruthless founder.
Intense, but how much of this story is actually true? Did Rome really just pop up overnight because of two feuding twins and a she-wolf?
Well, like most myths, there's some truth mixed in with the storytelling. Archaeologists have found evidence of settlements in Italy dating back way before Romulus and Remus.
So before Rome was Rome.
Exactly. We're talking about the Neolithic people around 5000 BCE, and then the Latins between 800 and 700 BCE. They were farmers, herders, and they laid the groundwork for what would become Rome.
So Rome didn't just appear out of nowhere. It evolved over time.
Right. And was probably influenced by different groups of people. But it's still fascinating how the Romans used these myths, like Romulus and Remus, to explain their origins.
It gave them a shared identity.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Rome wasn't built in a day, and it wasn't just one group of people either.
It's definitely not.
So many influences shaped it. And speaking of influences, let's talk about those neighbors who left their mark on early Roman culture. The Greeks and the Etruscans.
Ooh, yeah. Imagine a Venn diagram. You've got Rome in the middle, overlapping with these two really vibrant cultures.
Gotcha.
We can't understand Rome without understanding their impact.
So let's start with the Greeks. Most sixth graders, I think they already know a bit about ancient Greece, right?
Yeah. The Olympics, the myths, the amazing architecture.
But how did they influence Rome?
The Greeks had a big presence in southern Italy. They brought all this advanced knowledge of farming, new ideas about art and architecture, and even their alphabet. The Romans adapted it for their own language.
It's like the Greeks planted seeds of knowledge that blossomed in Roman culture.
I like that. That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so the Greeks were in the south, sharing their knowledge and culture. Now, who were these Etruscans hanging out in the north?
Oh, the Etruscans were fascinating. They were sophisticated, had nobles, bustling trade networks, skilled metal workers, and artists who created beautiful frescoes and intricate jewelry. They even wore togas.
Togas. The Romans adopted those from them.
Yep. Talk about a fashion trend that stood the test of time.
For sure.
Uh,
Speaking of fashion, we actually have an image of an Etruscan fresco right here. It shows people dancing and playing music.
It's so full of life, isn't it?
It is. You can almost hear the music, feel the energy.
Exactly. This fresco, it gives us a glimpse into their culture, their love of art, music, and celebration. But they weren't all about fun and games. They were also incredible engineers and builders, developed innovative drainage systems built with brick, and even had paved roads in their cities.
Wow. Sounds pretty advanced.
They were, and guess what? A lot of their innovations were adopted by the Romans.
The Romans were pretty good at taking inspiration from others and making it their own.
That's a great way to put it. It wasn't just copying, though. They learned, adapted, and created something uniquely Roman. That's what makes their story so interesting.
Absolutely. So far, we've seen how Italy's geography was perfect for a powerful civilization. We've explored the legend of Romulus and Remus, and we've learned how the Greeks and Etruscans influenced early Roman culture.
It's just the beginning, though.
Right. We've set the stage, explored the origins, and now, well, it's time to witness the rise of a republic.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll see how this small settlement on the banks of the Tiber River became one of the most influential powers in history.
I can't wait.
Welcome back to our Roman adventure. Before we jump into part 2, let me just do a quick recap.
Okay.
We saw how Italy's geography was basically begging for a powerful civilization to just show up.
Right.
We talked about Romulus and Remus, those wolf-raised twins.
Oh, yeah.
And we explored how the Greeks and Etruscans were kind of like Rome's cool older siblings, shaping its early culture.
That's a great summary. But now, hold on tight, because things are about to get even more exciting as we explore the rise of the Republic.
A republic. That sounds pretty important.
It is.
Can you break it down for us?
Sure.
Like, imagine you're explaining it to, say, a group of 6th graders.
Okay, think of a republic kind of like a student council. Instead of just one person making all the decisions like a king or queen, you have representatives.
Okay.
These representatives, they're elected by the people, so they speak for them and make decisions together.
So it's all about shared power, giving citizens a voice.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But how did Rome go from having a monarchy with kings to this republic? Was it a smooth transition, or did things get a little messy?
No, let's just say it wasn't exactly peaceful. Remember the Etruscans?
Those stylish neighbors from up north?
Yep. They were actually ruling Rome before the Republic.
Really?
Yeah. And, well, they had their good points, like they were amazing engineers and builders, but not everyone was happy with their leadership.
Sounds like things were getting a little tense. Who wasn't happy with the Etruscans being in charge?
The Romans themselves, especially the patricians.
The patricians, who are they?
The patricians were the wealthy landowners, like the elite of Roman society. They wanted more control, more say in their own future, and they were willing to fight for it.
So what did they do? Did they stage a protest? Or,
They took action. Around 509 BCE, the patricians, well, they'd had enough. They overthrew the last Etruscan king, and that's how they established the Roman Republic. It was a bold move, for sure, a real turning point in their history.
So they basically said, okay, Etruscans, you've had your fun. Now it's our turn.
Pretty much. But there's another question. Who are these citizens that got to participate in this new republic? Was it everyone?
That's a good question. It wasn't a free-for-all, was it?
Not exactly. In the beginning, it was mainly the patricians, the wealthy elite who held most of the power. They formed the Senate, which was like the main governing body in Rome.
Okay.
They made decisions on everything. Laws, taxes, war, you name it.
So it wasn't really power to the people right away, more like power to the wealthy.
You got it. But there was another group in Roman society, the plebeians.
The plebeians.
Yeah, the common people. Farmers, craftspeople, shopkeepers. They were the majority, but they didn't have much say in how things were run. And they weren't too happy about it.
I can imagine. If I were a plebeian, I'd be pretty frustrated.
They had a right to be. It's like being on a team but not getting to play.
Exactly. So what do they do about it?
Well, they might not have had the wealth or influence of the patricians, but they had something else. Numbers.
Strength in number.
Right. They realized if they united and fought for their rights, they could be a powerful force. And guess what? That's exactly what they did.
So it was like a power struggle between the patricians and the plebeians. Did it turn into a revolution? Or did they find a way to work things out?
It was a long process. Lots of tension, conflict, but also compromises. But over time, the plebeians made some big gains.
Like what?
Well, They fought for and won the right to have their own assembly where they could debate and pass laws. And they secured the creation of the Tribune of the Plebes.
What was that?
The Tribune of the Plebes was a representative who spoke up for them. They could even veto laws they thought were unfair.
Wow. That's pretty powerful.
It was.
So it sounds like it wasn't a quick change, but the plebeians did eventually get more influence and rights in the Republic.
Absolutely. And this whole struggle between the patricians and plebeians, it really shaped the political and social scene in ancient Rome.
Okay, so we've seen Rome go from a monarchy to a republic. We've seen how power shifted over time. But what was it actually like to live in ancient Rome during this period? What did people do for fun? What did they eat? What were their houses like?
Ah, that's a great question. And that's exactly what we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive. Get ready to walk through the bustling streets of ancient Rome and experience life as a Roman citizen.
All right, welcome back to our Roman adventure. We've covered a lot of ground already. We've seen how Italy's geography was basically an invitation for civilization to, really take off.
Uh-huh.
We've debated how much truth there is to those stories about Romulus and Remus being raised by, a wolf.
Right.
And we've witnessed those early power struggles and triumphs in the Roman Republic. But let's face it, history is about more than just maps and myths and politics, right?
Oh, definitely.
It's about the people.
Exactly. History is really about the stories of those who lived it, their everyday lives, their struggles, their victories. That's what brings the past to life. So let's take a trip back in time and imagine we're walking through the streets of ancient Rome.
Okay, I'm picturing it now. We're strolling down a busy Roman street. What do we see, hear, smell even?
Oh, get ready for sensory overload. It would be crowded, noisy, a mix of everything. Imagine vendors shouting about their wares, chariots rumbling over cobblestone streets, people just chatting and going about their day.
Sounds a bit like a modern city, but with togas.
Exactly.
Speaking of togas, were those like everyday wear for the Romans, or was that just for special occasions?
Think of the toga as the formal attire of ancient Rome. It was a symbol of citizenship, mostly worn by men for important events and ceremonies, like their version of a suit and tie,
Makes sense. You wouldn't want to get your toga dirty doing chores.
Not really.
So what about their food? Were the Romans already enjoying pizza and pasta like Italians do today?
Not quite. Those culinary delights came much later. The Roman diet was all about what they could grow and trade, grains, fruits, veggies, olive oil, those Mediterranean staples.
Right.
Bread was a big deal. They also ate a lot of porridge made from barley or wheat. Not exactly the most exciting menu, I guess.
Sounds a bit bland, yeah. But did they have any, favorite treats or snacks?
They did. They loved their sweets, things like figs, dates, and grapes, all those delicious sun-ripened goodies.
Of course.
And for special treats, maybe honey cakes or pastries, they were really big on spices, too, traded from faraway lands.
Yeah.
Spices added that extra flavor to their meals, kind of like how we use hot sauce or ketchup today.
That's a good analogy.
Yep.
Speaking of trade, what was the economy like in ancient Rome? Were they big on shopping and commerce?
Trade was huge, GE. It was the backbone of their economy. They had this vast network of roads and sea routes connecting them to different parts of the empire and beyond. They imported all kinds of stuff like silk from China, spices from India, even exotic animals for their gladiatorial games.
Gladiatorial games.
Right.
That's not something you see at your average market. Tell us more about how the Romans entertained themselves.
Oh, they loved their entertainment. Chariot races, gladiatorial combats, theater performances. Think of it as their version of going to the movies or a sports event,
Okay.
The Colosseum, that massive amphitheater, was where it all happened. Imagine thousands of people cheering and going wild as gladiators battled it out or chariots raced around the track.
Sounds pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so they worked hard, played hard.
Yeah.
What about education? Did they have schools?
Education was very important, especially for boys from wealthy families. They'd learn rhetoric, the art of public speaking. That was crucial in a society that valued debate and persuasion. They also studied literature, history, and law, all to prepare them for leadership roles.
Makes sense.
Girls, well, they usually got a more domestic education, focused on running a household and raising children.
Sounds like life in ancient Rome had its ups and downs. They had their work, families, but also this vibrant culture. And they were constantly shaping history. What a time to be alive. Well, maybe not, considering the lack of modern plumbing.
Right, but it's fascinating to see how their lives were both similar to and different from ours. That's the beauty of history, isn't it?
It is.
It lets us connect with people from the past, see their world, and learn from them.
So as we wrap up our Roman adventure, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that history isn't just a bunch of boring facts and dates. It's about real people, their stories, and how their choices impacted the world we live in.
I like that. Well said. And maybe this deep dive has even sparked a lifelong interest in ancient Rome for some of our listeners.
I hope so.
Just imagine traveling back in time and experiencing it all firsthand. What would you be most curious to see or do if you had the chance? It's something to think about as we say goodbye for now. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.
It was my pleasure. And remember, history is happening all around us. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep discovering those amazing stories that connect us all.